This is an inbox review of the Karaya 1/48 scale resin model of the Martinsyde F.4 Buzzard, and this is a variant that was used during the Spanish Civil War. So first off, we'll start just by looking at the instructions. I apologise, they're a little bit messy on the bench here. I've got quite a lot of work going on, so I'm just trying to get on through this one. So what it shows is all the other versions of aircraft that they do in the 48th line, and they've got an Asaldo A1, an Airco DH5, Albatross D1, Aviatic, Berg D2, DFC C5 early and Polish and first production batch, Newport NI 51, Vickers Cow Gunfighter, and then the Martinsyde Buzzard as a Buzzard, the Finnish version, Spanish version and foreign service. And then we've got some information showing you where best to find more info for building the kit. So you've got the best source is Windsock data file number 76, and this is to model a Martinsyde F.4 Buzzard used with the Spanish Navy Air Force, Aeronautica Naval, July 1936, San Javier Naval Air Station, and it was used during the Spanish Civil War. So it's quite a simplified photocopied printout, and you've got the basic construction showing here, how everything goes on inside the cockpit. Two halves come together. You've got an engine going on which slides in as you push the two together. Then we're straight on to getting the wings in, tailplane going on, cabane struts and the normal struts, and then on the back presumably top wing comes on and we start to finish it off. We do get a nice set of decals, and these are printed presumably by Karaya or Karaya, and all of these decals are used on the actual single model. So you've got roundels above and below, you've got the fin flash there, or oh no, that's actually the rudder. You've also got, if you want to paint the rudder, they've given you the anchor there separately as well, and you've got, I think, I'm not sure what that is there, some sort of fly which obviously denotes something to do with the aircraft. I don't know a lot about this one. And then we've got MS7 or MS10, I believe. What have we got here? We've got a 7 and a 10. It doesn't really explain why. So I guess we've got two versions there. So you can either do the 10, so you go MS10 on the side and then 10 on the fin, or you go MS7 and you cut the 10 out and use the 7, and then the 7 here goes on the fin. But it doesn't actually tell you that in the marking options. Then we've got a photo etch fret and some clear film for, this looks like gun sights, I believe, or something to that effect. And then we've got the instrument panels that show through. As you paint that white, glue it through to the instrument panel that you've already painted, and then the dials show through. And on here we've got some stitching that goes along the different parts of the aircraft. I think it's around the cowling and on the underside on the seam. And then we've got some seat harnesses and a few other small bits. Then we've got two bags of resin, so we'll start with the smaller bits first. And in here we've got a jumble of things which make up all of the small parts. So in there we've got the rudder and fin assembly. We've also got the cockpit floor. This is typical for resin kits, that they get put in like this, all in a bundle. We've got the propeller blade coming up there. We've got tyres, and then we've got separate hubs that go in on both sides, which makes painting a little bit easier. I believe there's two sides to the hubs. It may just be one side, and then that might be the blind side that goes on. Yes, we haven't got hubs anywhere else, so there's the tyres there, and then the two hubs go on the outside, the sort of cone pieces. Then we've got some struts. All of these have metal copper wire moulded into them, and there's a little bit of the copper wire showing through there in that one. I don't know if you can see that, but that orange bit is the copper wire. And yeah, everything looks very good. There's sometimes you get a little bit broken off here and there, so it's best to clean your parts up as you go, and then don't chuck any of these little bits away until you're sure that everything in there is complete, because it's very easy to glue it back on with resin if it's broken. It tends to break so cleanly that it just super glues right back on and you can barely see the joint. So something to bear in mind. There's a nice radiator there which has got some engraved detail. So all in all, it's typical stuff. There's nothing wrong with this. It's very highly detailed. There's a little bit of cleanup, but once it's done, it's pretty straightforward from then on. And now the second bag of resin caters for larger parts. So we'll leave the fuselage halves out of the way for a second. So we've got the two wings. So you've got lower wings here, and then the upper wings. And they look very nice. They've got very subtle rib detail across them, and nice fabric texture as well, with good definition there around the ailerons. There's the horizontal stabilizers with the elevators again moulded on. Very again good definition. So if you wanted to pose any of these, you could do the ailerons like one up, one down. You could do the elevators up or down. It's very easy to just go along that line, follow it down, and cut them out and move them. So very impressive there. There's no warping on this. I've looked at this before. I mean, the trailing edge is razor sharp. The leading edge is quite nice as well. A little bit of roughness where they've been snapped off the casting blocks. And we'll have a problem in a second. I would rather they just leave the casting blocks on, the manufacturers, than snapping them off, because it does damage the kit. But this is the centre section for the top wing. So these actually have got small little indents there, and they line up like that and slot on. You're obviously going to have to do some test fitting to make sure all of that lines up, and I would suggest doing it on a flat surface so you know it's level to itself. But I mean, checking is the way forward with this. Then we've got the fuselage halves. So these are very nicely detailed. So you've got internal structure, and for resin kits this is actually extremely well done, because it's almost like a injection molded kit, because you've got actual locating pins, and it's a nice join and everything's there. Usually it's completely bare in the middle, and you'd have to actually fashion that up and scratch build it, all of the detail, but it's all there. We've got the same fabric detail running through the rear section here, and we've got some nice raised parts here. There's on the Buzzard there are these strange plates that are sort of drilled in and around here. I thought this was bits of left over from the mould, but it's not. It's exactly what's meant to be there. And then we've got a little area there that just gets punched out, and that's where the engine sticks through, like that. And it's very nice. It's a very nice model. I think once you get everything cleaned up, you're going to spend the sort of first bit actually getting everything clean, and once it is, I don't think there's going to be too much of a massive problem getting this one together. The only slight pain I've got is again where the manufacturers snapped the casting block off here. So this has been left, but they've snapped it off because it wasn't in the bag. They've ripped out a chunk of resin there, so that's just going to need filling. But again, where you're using super glue, once that's sanded down, it's not going to be too much of an issue. Super glue will fill it, and you can sort of sand the grooves back in for the fabric detail, and before you know it, it'll all be sorted. So nothing too much to worry about there. Again, very impressive stuff. So there we go, a nice little package. I can't speak for what the availability of this kit is. I managed to pick this one up on Hannants. I watched it for about a year, I think, before I actually took the plunge, and there was only ever one available. I couldn't see any information about it online or anything, so I'm not sure whether these are around anymore, but some of you may have one in the stash, and you may pick one up at a show as well, so worth keeping an eye out if it's something of interest. A very unusual model. In 1/48 scale, it's going to be quite a piece when it's done. I will be building this. I can't promise when it's going to be. I was hoping to have done it sooner rather than later, but I haven't got to it yet. So when I do, you'll be the first to know, and I'll obviously share it with you on the channel. So hopefully this has been of interest to you. Something a little bit different for the channel with a resin model. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, thanks for viewing, and I'll see you in the next video.